7:00, would you please stand with me as the
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to the regular board meeting of Platte 1. Thank you guys for coming or staying if you were at our workshop, whatever the case may be. All right, so at this time we'll look at the approval of the agenda with additional bills. And what is
Yeah, let's approve it. Just say the change first real quick.
okay,
Okay, yeah, so we do have a change on the action item, number 6, there was a special education contract, we need to delete that one, that doesn't need to be moved forward, so. It's only change in the agenda.
we would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with additional bills and the change to strike number 6.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I will second.
All right. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, so all in favor of the approval of the agenda with additional bills and the change to strike item 6, the special education contract, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? You guys have it? All right, thank you. And next we have our good things happening. And as a reminder, there's, are those gonna be planned? Yeah, you can see good things up on our board, and there's also a link on the website to be looking at good things happening throughout the month, as well as go on to
Yeah.
B.
So B, we do have a Peak High School graduation, Mr. Philo, if you wanna come up and introduce our graduate?
We'll go over here. So, Jaden is our newest Peak graduate. She came to us a couple years ago as a transfer student. And she definitely worked her nose to the grindstone here the past few months. She has always been a pretty good worker since she's been with us, and she could see the end in sight, and she really got to it, so it was really good to see her be able to do that. What are your future plans?
I'm taking a year off, and then I want to go overseas for college to study what I want.
Awesome. So, there you have her plans, so that's pretty cool, right? Mrs., you have anything?
Just, she's worked hard and I'm very proud of sticking to it. It took a while, huh?
So at this time, Superintendent Waggle, Madam Chairman Lay, members of the board, Jaden Kane has met the requirements set forth by you. So I present to you our newest Peak High School graduate, Jaden Kane. You wanna shake hands?
No crying.
Congratulations. Okay, you can. Congratulations.
Good job. I like it.
So good.
Good luck overseas. I would be scared to death to go overseas.
She's like, let me out of here.
Alright, and further on in good things happening.
Mr. Dallas, you wanna come up and
Oh, I didn't
talk
see
a little bit about
Okay, there we go.
Absolutely.
your national convention and.
We'll come stay over here if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So the Wheatland FFA took your sweepstakes winners out to National FFA. We had 3 state champion teams at state convention last year. That was ag sales, horse, and farm business management. With that came the issue of we had a lot of kids that graduated high school. So it was trying to get kids back from college, get them there, get everyone out there. It took a while, but we finally got the whole team together about 4 hours after we got back. I brought 2 individuals over here, one that competed with FBM, one that competed with horse. I just want to tell you guys a little bit about the sales contest in itself. So with the sales contest, we had Echo Bay Contour, Savannah Betts, Lady McKee, and Dante Dawson all participate with that. Savannah's out at Oklahoma State right now. Dante's up at Casper College, and so we had to kind of coordinate with that. With the ag sales contest, you get a product, and this year it was Pioneer Seed. Pioneer is a large producer of different seeds, and many of the farmers and ranchers around here probably know about them and have purchased from them before. So it was their job to talk and learn about the 6 different products that they had. With those 6 different products, they had to be educated about the knowledge of where they could plant it, so on, so on. They had to learn how to do a customer call, how to deal with customers that were having any issues, that type of thing, as well as a team activity where they had to come up with 4 different questions based on building rapport, figuring out the wants and needs of a customer, so on, so on. With that being said, Savannah Metz, Elaine McKee, and Dante Dawson were all silver emblem. That means they were in the middle 30 percentile of their finish. Echo Bay Contour was gold emblem, so she was in the top 30%. She actually had a unique circumstance after one of her contests. Somebody from JBS gave her their phone number and said, please come visit us at our booth. We'd like to talk to you about your future career plans. And so she got to go talk to JPS, someone that's nearby that she could talk a little bit about that, have potential job opportunity once she finishes high school or goes on to college. I'll now pass it on to Kaylee, who's going to talk a little bit about horse.
One of the big things that I wanted to talk about, this was our first horse judging team in 8 years now, and the fact that we were able to go and win state is super cool. I was very proud of all of them. It was myself, Jada Graves, Paige Hoprock, and Ella Kyle. I'm especially proud of Paige. She actually started 3 weeks to a month before our state contest, so it was kind of a cram, but it was okay. So basically our national contest is a little bit different than most of the other contests that you go to. We go in there and the first thing that we get is we get handed a written test with about 50 different questions on it. It's all multiple choice. And then, so we start with that. As soon as we're done with that, then we judged 8 different classes of horses. 4 were halter and 4 were performance. So that means that in 4 classes, the horses are being ridden, and then 4 classes, they're standing on a halter. After we got done with all of that, we walked into our reasons room. It's just a very big open room. Everybody sits in their groups. You don't get to talk at all throughout the day, so that was a struggle for everybody. But so you get put in your reasons groups, and then you go into this little tented area. It's basically 4 poles with some fabric set up around them, and you give 4 different sets of reasons. So you talk about why you placed the class, how you did, and you get scored on that. And then the following morning, we actually went back and we had to do 2 team problems. One was paper problems. We had 4 different practicum problems that we had to go through, and then following that we had a oral presentation that we had to do, and we did decently well. Paige was in the bronze emblem, which I'm still very proud of her. That's a very far way to come considering she's only judged for about 6 months. I'm very proud of her. Ella and Jada were both in the silver emblem group, and I was in the gold emblem. We overall finished as a silver emblem team, which is incredible to me since we haven't had a team for about 8 years, so that was really cool. I'm gonna pass it on to Megan.
Alright, well I'll kind of wrap it up. My name is Megan Sagner. I am a senior here at Wheatland. I'm the president of the Wheatland FFA chapter. I had the absolute privilege of competing on the farm business management team this year with Caden Wade, who's at Michigan State, and Hadley Paisley and Hayden Hawker, who are over at Laramie. So we kind of had the same conflict of getting times to practice. We had a lot of Zoom calls with our coach, Bryce McIntosh. So a little bit of perspective first on what the FFA organization looks like. It is the largest student-led organization in the nation with approximately 945,000 active members across 50 states, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands. So then at National Convention, you get about 60,000 of those kids there, And then competing, to be eligible to compete at the national convention, you have to win your state contest. So in the sense of farm business, we had to compete against 46 of the best teams in the nation. We went into this contest, of course, with the goal to win it, just like the 2019 team did. They won it that year. But we also knew that there were going to be some pretty salty teams out there, us being one of those. So we went in with the goal of being top 4. That means you get to walk the main stage and you're recognized on national television. We were the 3rd place team in the nation. All 4 members were gold emblems, and our proudest moment was having Caden Wade as the high individual out of 190 of the smartest farm business management kids.
Wow.
And so none of us were really surprised after seeing his notebook because he put in the work. He really did. And so it was very impressive to see. The farm business management contest, it's pretty complex, quite honestly. About a month before you go into the competition, you get a 23 to 26 page resource information packet. This is all the financial information you need to know about one agricultural business. This year we were lucky enough to get a beef operation, something all 4 of us were very familiar with. And so basically what you do with that, it includes anything from your income statement, balance sheet, cash flow planning, comparative analysis, and enterprise budgets. So before we go to the national contest, we run what we call a SWOT analysis. Strengths and weaknesses, those analyze all of your financial measures, basically. That can be anything from current ratio, working capital, return on assets, operating profit margin. If it's a financial standard, we probably ran it on this operation. And then opportunities and threats, those come from outside the operation, basically based on your market. And then when we get into the competition at nationals, we have 2 components. One is a 3-hour individual test. And so basically we have to know anything dealing with general financial statements, tax management, estate planning. We have to know how to run a depreciation schedule, amortizations, production function, substitution ratio. Basically any sort of general business management practice we have to know, as well as anything specific to an agricultural business. We're given the publication 225, which is your farmer's tax guide. A lot of our questions come out of that, so you have to know how to run anything taxes with that as well. So it's a very complicated test, and then we go into a 90-minute team activity. All the teams are in a big room. You have to answer about 15 questions. This is where your SWOT analysis comes in, and then this is basically we have to act as financial advisors, business consultants. We're basically telling and helping this operation that was put together kind of just look at the future of their business and how they can manage it to be better in the future. It's very much a creative thinking, think outside the box sort of deal. One of the questions was we had to come up with a 10-word slogan for this operation. So thank goodness we had Hadley Paisley for that, because that's her cup of tea. But it's very much putting all of the strengths of the team together and working that out. So then the last thing I kind of wanted to touch on was a frustration that I have come across competing in FFA, and I know a lot of FFA members have as well. There's a lot of people that I've come across that really underestimate the preparation we have to have in these competitions, whether that be at the state level or even the national level. At the national competition, especially for our farm business team this year, it was basically a 12-month season, if you will. We started practices last fall, and we practiced up until about the last second we could walking into that test room at the national convention. So we put a lot of hours and months of practice in. We've got practices going right now for some of our spring competitions, and we work all summer. I think the farm business team, as many tests as we took, we probably killed a minimum of a forest and a half with all of those tests that we had to take, and our coach Bryce McIntosh had us take those. So just kind of looking at those, while it may look like we had a lot of fun at nationals, and we really did. We visited Louisville Slugger Factory, Churchill Downs, Indianapolis Speedway. What you don't see is the car rides to those places and our hotel stays. And you can ask Mr. Philo and Mr. Dallas, who were the ones that took us this year. Our car rides are full of papers, calculators, books, any sort of study material we're studying. The farm business team was on a Zoom call with our coach until midnight the night before our competition, trying to get all of our last minute preparation in to represent our chapter, our school, our community, and our state the way that we do. And the Wheatland FFA has a pretty prestigious reputation when it comes to not only the state of Wyoming competitions, but at the national level, especially in competitions like agronomy and farm business management. So all of that set aside, I would like like to take this opportunity to thank all of the school board members, community members, staff, educators for all of your support for us because we truly could not do it without you. So thank you.
Thank you guys for the opportunity to like finish on that note.
Thank you.
And if I may, while we're talking about FFA, I would just like to say, give a shout out to the two Chugwater kids that they were still Platte 1 students that qualified, Noah Pershall and Savannah Norfleet, who actually in the Agri-Science Division 2, and they were first in the nation, so.
We also had two from Glendo, Rachel Hill and Tess Palin also competed, and they were also agri-science, I believe.
Tess was also employment skills.
Employment skills.
And they did very, very well. There they are.
Yep, there they are. That was not planned.
All right, okay, thank you. All right, looking at item 4, we have correspondence. All right, and then item 5 is visitor comments. We do have one sign for visitor comments. We have 30 minutes allotted to each person, or split between each person signed up. Since there's just one, you can have 30 minutes if you want, Chrissy.
Okay, I'm Chrissy Dawson. First of all, I'm a parent in Platte County. I'm also a teacher. I've been taught here for 20 years. I would like to talk about a couple things I wrote on their policies. The first one I would like to talk about is the one that you have proposed at the bottom of your agenda. Or maybe it's not on the bottom, sorry.
It's under the
Thank
new
you.
policy.
So I feel like that, and you guys can, I'll just give a little history first. There have been some conflicts at the high school with volleyball coaching. I have gone to Superintendent Weigel several times. I'll give you a timeline of how many times I've been to talk to him. This started, I called him on July 24th and had a conversation with him saying, we need to do something about the administration at the high school and how they will not make the coaches be accountable. That was July 24th. The next time I had a conversation with him about the accountability of the principals and the AD was Friday, September 8th. I sent an email to the coaches and the AD and him regarding a retaliation comment from the coaches to the students, athletes on the volleyball team about a team building activity that they did. And the coach retaliated against them about their comments on how they chose on the team building. I got no response from the coach, no response from the AD. I also did not get a response from Mr. Weigel because then later we met. On September 18th, I went in again personally to meet with him. We had a discussion about lots of comments that were made to the girls, cuss words that were said at games, not feeding them on the way home from Douglas, also not feeding the girls last year at state volleyball when they lost at 9 o'clock at night. Again, this year, they weren't fed from Douglas, left the school at 7 a.m. It didn't get home until 9 o'clock at night, didn't get fed. Also, the only reason that pro players are allowed to manage is if they're injured. I did have an injured player on the team, and we talked about that. Mr. Weigel also suggested to me, because he didn't feel like emails were a good form of communication. He felt like face-to-face and phone calls were better. He suggested to me that I reach out to the coach myself. I thought about that, I prayed about that, and I took a leap of faith, and I did. I reached out to the coach and said, hey, let's try to put the history behind us, let's try to talk about this. I sent a message on September 20th. On her school voicemail, I got no response. On September 21st, I sent another email to Mr. Weigel saying that I did that, saying I was trying to come together and meet. I feel like as professionals, we could meet. I did not get a response from that person at all. On September 22nd, my daughter reached out to the coach because the varsity scrimmaged the JV, and my daughter was the manager. She was the scorekeeper that night. It just so happened that the JV beat the varsity in one match. The next day at practice, my daughter was called a liar and a cheat because the varsity won. She was the manager. She had no really anywhere to go but keep score. She was called a liar and a cheat in front of the whole team. I also reached out to him again on September 23rd. My daughter sent a message to the coach that said, I feel like we need to meet and we need to follow the chain of command because Mr. Philo and Mr. Sandlin said the athlete has to meet with the coach first without the parent. I'm not sure if you guys know of any 14-year-old girl that's gonna meet with an adult by themselves after they've been called a liar and a cheat. So she did say that. She said, we need to meet with my parents. The coach responded the next day and said, no, I will not meet with you and your parents. I will meet with you and the other coach. And my daughter said, I do not feel safe meeting with you alone. My parents will be there. On the way to Glen Rock, we are driving and I get a text message from the coach that says, I need to meet with you before the match. Again, Mr. Philo always says, what about the 24-hour rule? That obviously doesn't apply to the coach because she called me right then and there and said, we'll meet before the volleyball match. We did that. We met. It didn't go that well because my daughter was upset after being called a liar and a cheat. We did meet. That was September 23rd. The 24-hour rule, again, I keep stressing that, the 24-hour rule only applies for parents. Apparently, it doesn't apply for coaches to allow for parents to process or talk to their kid. The number one takeaway from that conversation was that she asked my daughter to quit managing volleyball. She was an injured player, and she asked her to quit managing. So I guess somebody calls me a liar and a cheat. Probably your best option. But the history, lack of accountability on part, we can go back to the cross country thing, sorry, Jordan, your daughter being hit in the head. I'm sorry, my own, daughter having a concussion with no one calling me until after the fact, after I got upset about that. The lack of supervision, the track incident when my daughter tore her ACL, no track in the whole nation would have kids practice hurdles on the second day of practice when it's 40 degrees out. That is lack of professionalism, negligence, and all of those things. You don't do that. No one in the nation would have them practice hurdles on the second day. Okay, so that's September 23rd. Okay, let's go on into October. I met with him on September 27th. Also, so we've met. I mean, I've rattled off several dates that we've had conversations. Prior to that, I did have a conversation with Mr. Sandlin on September 26th. I said, Mr. Sandlin, I do not feel like you can meet me in the middle on this because you are too wrapped up in the coach and you will not make her be accountable. I did say that because I do not feel like he can because the history of the things that have happened. So I did say that. I also responded in an email the day after the encounter in Glen Rock, Monday, September 26th. My daughter walks into science class and her teacher, who is also the coach, automatically moves her desk right directly to her so she can either intimidate her, bully her, or make comments to her or something. I asked Mr. Sandlin about that. He said, well, she moves them all the time. I said, well, timing wasn't great. Even if you waited till Wednesday, it probably would have been fine. But Monday, 2 days after the encounter in Glen Rock, probably not your best move. And I don't think they've moved seats yet. The other part of this is, yes, everybody moves seats, but not the teacher's kid. My daughter always gets moved, but her son never gets moved. So do we want to talk about the discrimination piece now, or I'll move on? So September 27th, I did meet with Mr. Weigel again. October 4th. Actually, I did send an email to all of you September 8th, and I did not get any response. And I will say that I did get a response from Amanda, only because we talked about it in a different situation. And she did respond to me, so I'm not sure that that's a great. I just know that if I did not respond to a parent as a professional, it would not go that well. So anyway, also on Monday, the 25th, September 25th, Josh called my husband, who doesn't answer his phone. I never get a hold of him. So he knows that, Josh knows that, but he called him anyway and wanted to meet. I said we can't meet. September 27th, the coach's brother drove into our private property and tried to.
Give me a sec. I haven't signed up, can I speak or no?
Started a confrontation with my husband at his work and private property. Okay, so when I say there's lots of history on this deal, there's a lot. So when my husband and I watched this coach from August 26th all the way till October 12th corner some athlete every single game, corner them and have them in tears, a different one every single week. On October 12th, it just happened to be mine, and I wasn't going to tolerate it because it happened all year and they did nothing. You are in the business of kids. We're not to protect adults, we are to protect kids. And that was not, so I did go down there, yes I did, and I said to the coach, I said, not the time, not the place. And she kept at my daughter, pointing her finger in her face, okay? And then it was almost like it was planned. It was almost like it was planned because as soon as I was there, these two came in and shoved her out of the way and got after me. And then guess what? Then comes my husband, okay? And he was upset because look at all the history here. Look at all the times that I've reached out and said, look, we need to do something, do something, do something, do something, do something, do something, quit, stop, it has to stop. Nothing. Nothing was said, or at least the behavior didn't change because the finger pointing, the name calling, the interrogating students in front or athletes in front of other people didn't stop. That didn't stop. And that's what I was looking for. They are 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old girls, not a 46-year-old woman. It's kids. So when you look at that policy about how people behave on public property, I get it. But I gave you plenty of warning. I gave you guys plenty of warning. And you did absolutely nothing. And my husband gets a written letter of reprimand from him. And then everybody in the school, people tell me about this? How are they supposed to know? How did they know that happened? Oh, probably because they leaked it. Okay? So, talk about professionalism, negligence. We are professionals. This is a tax-funded entity, we get to decide who gets it. I know for a fact that there was a parent that went into cheerleading practice and yelled at the coach. Oh, but nothing happened to her. Nothing. Zero. Not a reprimand. She's filing a lawsuit. Yeah, this is a small town. I hear this stuff. I hear it. But I have this letter of reprimand reprimand from you, and I came to you for help. I reached out July 24th. I said, this is a problem. This is a problem.
My name isn't on there, can I speak or no?
You can, it's fine, I'm not done.
Okay.
So we can go to policy GBA if you wanna talk about policies, okay? So this is discrimination. There was no interview for the volleyball job, and I say that, and he'll say that there was. I've been here for 20 years, I know how these interviews goes. Hey, you want the job? That's how that goes. No interview, and then the job was still posted 2 weeks after, quote unquote, we hired that person. So are we gonna follow that one? Okay, so that's GBA. It says, based on sex and treatment of students in terms of employment. Or the boys, they were allowed to choose their coach last year. 9 months difference. They were allowed to choose their football coach. But the volleyball girls, nope, we're just gonna do this one. We're gonna fire the old one and you're going in. Okay, no interviews there. Okay, so that's also policy GBA. And I already mentioned that my female daughter is moved in her class, but the male son of the teacher is never moved. That is also discrimination. Let's go to policy GCBBR. This one is you have one assistant coach when it gets up to 25. I'll tell you the numbers that we've had. From the girls' basketball season from 2021, there were only 25 girls. It says 25. You need 2 coaches. Not 3, 2. Okay? Last year, they had only 20 girls. 20 girls, 3 coaches. 3. Okay? This is the policy. I'm just saying, this is your policy. Okay? This season right now, 22 girls. And I just heard tonight, 3 of them might not play, so you're down to 17. But we still have 3 coaches. Same for the boys. Boys, they had 26 boys last year. They might have 26 this year. Hiring will be done in the fall based on previous year's numbers. I just gave you the previous year's numbers. Okay? Numbers must hold for 5 days. Well, anybody can stick it out for 5 days. Maybe we should change that. And it's also based on previous years. I can tell you, I know who's probably gonna play basketball and volleyball, because I have had them since 3rd grade. I can tell you there's 12, maybe 13, 1 8th grader at the middle school, 1. So your numbers aren't gonna be that great either. Policy IGD, extracurricular activities, used as a means of developing wholesome attitudes and good human relations, as well as knowledge and skills. Do you suppose that all those girls during the volleyball season crying in the corner with the coach going like this had a wholesome attitude and a good human relation experience? Do you suppose they did? Any of them? Do you suppose my daughter had a good experience? Saying the only reason you get a manage is because you're injured and you're a liar and a cheat? As a 14-year-old? That's a pretty good one. I'm sorry I'm really sarcastic, but I really tried to be positive and to ask for help. I really tried. I have all of these things, all of this stuff that I've done. All of it. Thank you.
Thank you. We are on to item 6, the consent agenda. And what are the wishes of the board there?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
I would second that.
Mr. Patrick? So the motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda with the minutes, the claims and additional bills, and any grants or donations. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Moving on to informational items. Mr. Wykel.
Yeah, I'll start my report. Jim told our grounds and maintenance person, you wanna come on up and discuss a little bit about the HVAC project?
Superintendent, school board, thanks for having me. I just wanna share a little bit on the HVAC project and a review. We put in a while back for a ESSER grant and was approved for it. And the basis was air quality and filtration updates. So we, had an idea of kind of the price of the grant that we could get. So we went through all the schools and we just started writing down, figuring out which ones needed some updating, which ones were lacking, mainly on the filtration, and then also kind of that AC quality. And so we listed them out and then we just started working and numbering them, which ones we felt like needed the most, not even maybe the most update, but more the ones that got the most use for buildings. How many kids were using it, how much time would be spent in each one of those buildings. And obviously we couldn't update the entire school district with everything. So we tried to just go through that and figure out which ones were gonna be the best for what we could get. And I think you guys got the list. So the 3 schools we're gonna be working on will be Wheatland High School, which is to be the commons, the office area, the media and library building, and then the weight conditioning building. Libby will be the south wing, and then the library center, and then Glendale, both air handlers over there will be getting updates. This Thursday, Plan 1's gonna be meeting with us. We're gonna be walking around all those facilities, just looking at possible, basically the best way to spend that money on each project, whether it's updating the entire part of the system, just putting in cooling coils, updating the filtration systems, and so on Thursday we'll do a walk around and start planning the actual site for getting that for bid. The pushers, we gotta get it all done before September 30th next year. So we are on a little bit of a time crunch, but as long as we keep moving, we'll be able to meet it. The goal's most likely to have next summer, pretty much everything set in place, so as soon as summer rolls around, we can hopefully hammer down and get it done through next summer on that side, so. A lot of it's still kind of up in the air, just as we're still figuring out just the best process on which ones and how to update each system, so.
So we did complete a pre-approval form from the Wyoming Department of Ed, and we did get a pre-approval for this project. So the next, I think later down the action item, there is an action item to open up a bid for some of the HVAC work. That's good. Any questions on that, Jim? Good luck. Thank you. Next, Tamara Stenson, she's gonna talk a little bit about EWC's current and dual enrollment numbers, maybe some other classes that she's been facilitating for us.
My name is Tamara Stinson and I'm the EWC and Community Education Coordinator. I will take you through the breakdown a little bit, just so you have a good understanding. So here at the district, we have concurrent teachers, who are our high school teachers who are certified through EWC to teach at the college level. That's concurrent classes. And then we have dual classes. The district allows our high school students to take 2 dual classes their high school year. And then we also have what's called Jump Start. Jump Start are classes that parents can pay for, or a lot of our homeschool students will take a jump start class. So that's the breakdown of what the district offers. I believe, I had sent this over to Heather, and did you share it out, Heather? I'm not for sure. Okay, the data, okay. Alright, so I will share, the data from Chugwater, Glendale, and then Wheatland High School. And this is the information from last school year, so fall of 2022, through spring of 2023. So for Chugwater, this was prepared by Kim Russell, who is one of the coordinators through Eastern Wyoming College. For dual classes, Chugwater offered 2 courses, and there was a total of 2 students enrolled, and unduplicated students was 1. Dual classes for spring 2023, for Chugwater, there were 3 classes offered, total number of students enrolled was 3, unduplicated students was 2. For Glendale, Kim Russell also prepared this. For fall of 2022, there was 1 class offered, 2 students enrolled, and 2 unduplicated students. For dual classes, fall of 2022, there was a total of 4 classes offered, a total number of 4 students enrolled, and 2 students who were unduplicated. For spring of 2023, there were 10 classes offered. Total number of students enrolled was 11, and unduplicated students was 3. Sandy Engelman prepared the community education portion for her area, which was the Glendale area. And for community education fall of 2022, she offered 9 classes. A total number of students enrolled was 60. That was fall of 2022. Spring 2023, she offered 5 classes, 31 students were enrolled. And she also offered courses through community education in the summer, and she offered 5 classes with 23 students enrolled. Wheatland High School was prepared by me, and for fall of 2022, there were 7 classes offered. Total number of students enrolled was 157, unduplicated head count was 120. For concurrent classes, spring of 2023, there was a total number of 15 classes offered. A total number of 245 students enrolled, and unduplicated head count was 126. For dual and jump start, for fall of 2022, there was 6 classes offered. A total number of students enrolled was 26, unduplicated head count was 16. For dual jump start spring of 2023, there were 6 classes offered, total number of students enrolled was 19, unduplicated head count was 15. Community education offerings for spring of 2023, there was 1 class offered and 13 students enrolled. Workforce development classes fall of 2022, 1 class was offered and 5 students enrolled. Total number of classes for spring 2023 was 1 class offered, 2 students enrolled. So this is actually the BOCES report that I put together when I had went to my coordinators retreat this past month, and so this was shared during the BOCES report. Currently with community education, this is the area that I'm hoping to get up and going again. But as of right now, this spring, I have looks like I have American Heart Association Healthy for Life class that will be offered, American Heart Association Heart Saver First Aid CPR AED, CNA Certified Nursing Assistants, Driver's Education, Hall Walkers, Hunter Safety, Instant Pot class, Mayday Baskets, a sushi class, and a Wyoming Substitute Teaching Permit class. And that is a class that I actually taught through community ed just recently, this past month. And so the purpose of this class was to take individuals who were interested in getting their substitute permit through the step-by-step process on how to do that. Like, what do they need to do? All the requirements come from PTSB, which is the Professional Teaching Standards Board. Like, what are the steps? What exactly does that entail? I did reach out to, just our local districts. I had reached out to, our HR here and then the HR in Guernsey, just to kind of share the information of what the districts are paying, so that we can have that. So far so good. I did have, 4 individuals take that class, and I've had numerous calls, and I'm planning to offer that again. I was going to offer it, towards the end of the year, but then, Lawanda had said it would probably be a better idea to offer it, after we return after, Christmas break, because sometimes they require to have some observation hours, and so.
Any questions over for Tamara? Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. So next up we have Blaine, our transportation supervisor, talk a little bit about the bus trade and maybe compare it to if we trade it in or sell it, what might be the best option for the district.
Yeah, Superintendent Weigel, members of the board. Options for getting rid of buses are we trade them in or sell them. No matter what, the numbers come out the same. It's how we get to use the money that changes just a little bit. So, for instance, if we traded a bus in and they gave us $1 versus us selling a bus and getting $50,000, what the state reimburses us is going to be the same amount. They won't apply $100,000 reimbursement to the addition of our $50,000 sale. They would take $50,000 off of our sale for that bus, and give us $50,000 for reimbursement. I think the biggest difference that Superintendent Weigel and I have talked about is access to funds now. If we were able to sell buses and get cash for those buses, we would be able to turn around and purchase, probably not another school bus, but suburbans, or expeditions or something of that sort for MPVs. We could use it as a down payment towards a single bus and maybe have a smaller lease payment on that one bus. The biggest reason that it's an option for us is the buses that we are looking to get rid of are still good quality buses. We have 5 2005s. They're a Thomas bus on a Freightliner body. 3 of those buses are under 75,000 miles. One of those buses we've discussed probably keeping on the off chance because it's a handicap bus. We only have one other one of those, so it's kind of good to have a spare if we get a kid in the district with a wheelchair need or anything like that, that we would have 2 to be able to utilize. But other than that, we have 3 quality buses that we think we could sell and do well from selling versus just accepting a
Is there a
low
good
bottom
market for selling buses?
For those in need. But you gotta find how,
we
who,
sell
and
'em?
what,
Yeah.
Different states have different requirements. Superintendent Weigel has some connections in Colorado. We've looked at a couple different avenues and different tests required for Colorado, and other places. It's not things that we can't do, but it's something that we haven't done before. Previously to, two predecessors ago, that transportation director had bought and sold a bus himself. He bought it from the district and then did some renovations to it and put different kinds of seats in or something. I know he sold it. I think people are out there, they convert them to recreational vehicles. There's different ideas, different things to do. I think there's a decent amount of interest out there. You just gotta kind of find it. I don't think it's necessary to invest money in marketing the sales of them, but to get rid of them, I think is doable for the 3. I know we've talked to Prairie View about potentially purchasing some of those and some options on that for them. Just kind of gotta come together the right way for them and what makes most sense for us to do.
And that's you said they're low mileage, but they're 2005, so the state requires you to do
So
something.
the replacement cycle is 17 years or 225,000 miles on a school bus. We'll be replacing more buses not this year cycle, but next year we'll have a different conversation about activity buses, that'll be at the 225,000, not the yearly mileage. So it kind of goes in different patterns for the route buses versus activity buses. It used to be a practice that when we got a bus, we didn't put it into service until another bus went out. We haven't got a bus since I've been there, so I can't say that that's the same practice, but we would have an immediate need to put it into service. We have other buses we rotate mileage to try to roll through and not just pile miles onto 14 buses. We try to balance them between the fleet. It's not a perfect balance, but it's more than what it was.
Research all for Ryan? Good? Thank you, sir. Jane Wilson, yeah, she's gonna talk a little bit about credit cards and a lease option for transportation.
Superintendent, I will member of the board, just like you said, I'm here to talk to you about what we're currently using for our district credit cards, along with transportation lease options. First, we'll start with our credit cards. Currently, we are using First State Bank for all of our district-wide credit cards. Right now, First State Bank has them through a third party, which is First National Bank of Omaha. We are finding that by meeting with First State Bank, it would actually be in better interest of the district to move away from the contract that we originally had signed with First State Bank and First National Bank of Omaha and switch directly to dealing with just First State Bank. And some of the benefits that the district could see with that is, number one, customer service. We'll be able to deal with them directly versus bank out and wherever that has no knowledge of any of our, even who we are. Another thing is that we would get 1% cash back on all of our card purchases. We can use that cash and cash that out whenever we decide is a good time to do that, and we can use that money for whatever we want. So that's another benefit. It's 0 fees to the district. And after doing some research, our credit cards are technically tied under a long time ago superintendent's personal name. So it makes it very hard
Changes his credit score.
Yeah, we're changing his credit score and doing a great job. I hope he never has to buy anything, because they're gonna be like, how many credit cards do you own and for how much? But I mean, that's his business. But I mean, I would like to get that all removed so it's under the school district versus being tied to an individual. So that is kind of what we're looking at doing with the district-wide credit cards. Like I said, they're originally through First State Bank, but First State Bank has them through a third party. And now that they are able to offer that in-house, we think it would be beneficial for us to switch to that. Any questions about that before I move on? Okay, looking at the bus leasing options, basically, when you get ready to go through all this process, Blaine will fill out all the 621A reports for the WDE, and he kind of went over like the trade amounts and how those work. But basically, the school district gets paid a fifth of their costs reimbursed to them on a 5-year rollout with that. I have visited with some veteran business managers, and they have suggested that I look at going with Todd Bishop out of Kaiser Wealth Management out of Cheyenne. Basically what Todd does is he puts together all the lease documentation for the school and puts it out to bid for the school district at no cost to the school. I am not a bus leasing expert. I have learned through this insurance process that putting together those RFP packets are extremely difficult. And if someone is willing to do that for the school district and the fee be put into the loan where we'll get reimbursed for it, I'm not sure why we wouldn't go that route and let somebody who's an expert in this reach out. We can make it known to him that we would prefer and like for them to reach out to all of our local banks and make sure that they all get a copy of that. And he said that's not a problem, he has schools make that request all the time. He said he can't guarantee obviously that they'll respond, but at least you've given them that option. Basically, he puts together all those documents to make sure that we're following all the state and federal rules and regulations, which, like I said, he's the expert at. And, that. And then, yeah, I think, all my highlights.
Question for Jamie at all? So we're kind of in the process of selling those buses first, and then we'll bring the lease option forward for your approval.
Sounds good.
What was the guy's name again? His name is Todd Bishop.
Okay.
Todd Bishop with Kaiser Wealth Management.
Alright, thanks, Jamie. And Megan's also gonna come up and talk a little bit about our temporary virtual education option. Instead of having a snow day, we can actually have our students engaged at the secondary level through their Chromebooks and actually through middle school and high school. And then we'll talk a little bit about our elementary principals and talk about some of the work they've done with their staff. So, go ahead.
All right, thank you Superintendent Weigel, members of the board. I'll just kind of go through what we have in place as far as software, how we can support our students during a virtual snow day. First and foremost, the school district utilizes a mass communication process that the superintendent or designee would notify all of our parents on whether or not we're having a virtual snow day. We use Parent Square. Mrs. Suko has done a ton of work to help us get those databases aligned to where we contact all of our parents. Unfortunately, with that system, it's only as good as what we have in our SIS, and a lot of people forget about the information they put in there. I know I've been here 17 years and I don't think I've ever updated my phone number. Fortunately for me, all I've ever had was my cell phone. But we do have some stagnant information in there. Shameless plug, please double check your Power School and make sure that the information is correct, or you will not receive any notices. Going on from there, Platte One does utilize Google Classroom as its LMS. So as long as the teachers in the 6 through 12 have that portion set up, it's the easiest way to organize and deliver content for a virtual day or even an in-person day. I personally like it. Whenever I get into a classroom, last year, Mrs. Waring and I did a computer science class over at West, and that's what we utilize. Mrs. Waring is also doing that this year. She utilizes that as well. It really is just a great tool for our teachers to organize our students and hand out assignments, and it's beneficial if we're not in person. We also utilize classroom management software called Aristotle K-12. That's one of those things where teachers can build off of that Google Classroom and actually pull in Chromebooks. And so depending on how they would like to see their in-person or their virtual, they could actually set up classes to where you could see all of your students' work and what's on the screen. As far as that actually working at home, I don't think that's possible. I think they have to be on school to see the screens, but they can still organize and put in filters if they so choose. They just wouldn't be able to see the screens. And beyond that, what else? I think that's all the software that we have, not all. That's the key software that we have in place that should support a virtual day for the 6th through 12. And every student does have their own Chromebook if they elected to get that.
One of the benefits of doing the virtual day would be more kids will be engaged than you would if you had a snow day at the end of the year, when a lot of times they'll talk to their parents, like, hey, we have to go that last day, we're not gonna do anything. And as we go throughout, when we extend the school year, a lot of times we lose instruction. If we do a virtual day, we're probably gonna get more kids actually involved and connected. through the high school and their Chromebooks, and then through the elementary also doing some running packets and some connections, so. I'd like to have Tom or Shane talk a little bit about what the elementary would look like if we choose to go that route.
You can go.
Okay, we're gonna, okay, we got her.
Start running early, so.
Yes, so now we're gonna go to the other end of the spectrum, down to K-12. So I gave you guys a little handout, so what we're gonna do at Libby is, we do have technology, we have iPads in the classroom, but unlike the secondary, we don't take those home, kids just leave them there, we utilize them during enrichment times, and they might work on them, things like that. So what we're gonna do is we'll have the Blizzard bag, we'll just have like a folder, it'll have materials on there that basically they've already covered, so we're not gonna give kids any new material. We'll give them, review, paper, pencil type things. In addition, we do have online programs like iExcel and Lexia for reading, and we'll have their usernames and passwords, copies of that for at home will be in the packet as well. So what we're gonna do is, and then that packet will go home, like it could go home next week, and then, parents will have it at home in case the storm hits at any point, and then once the call goes out that it's a virtual day, kids will have that available in there. And then on the day, then attendance basically is that they work through their packet and they bring that back to school. And then this is what we've done the last couple of years. Like Mrs. Lichty, she adds in a piece for the music, Mrs. Fitzwater for PE.
Nice.
Mrs. Young does an art, so there's a number of things in there, and then also our interventionists, like title and special ed, they add in things just specifically for the kids that they're working with, like through the next cycle or the IPs to meet their needs as well, so they might have a little different items in their packet or a couple of extra things in there, and like a title group. So we're as basic as you get.
So how many days, like, would that cover if we get another snow again?
I think we prepared 2 days.
Oh,
So it needs to come on Thursday.
Storm's coming already?
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Make the folders a funny color and not manila, so that the parent doesn't put it in a super safe place before that storm comes, maybe.
That might be, that
I
might
might
be an
have
order
done
of
that.
folders. Yeah, I know we have lots of manila.
Yeah, just saying it's like fluorescent yellow, bright pink, lime
Put a lot
green.
of stickers on it.
Yeah,
Let the kids
I'm just
decorate.
saying. I might have done that.
That's a good idea.
So that's kind of our plan. We'll give you a little handout to now, like some of the any other questions you might have. And then, if you're ready, Mr. Waring, then we'll step it up and they'll get a little more technological.
I can just stand behind you. Be like creepy. Okay, so we're gonna do that. And our teachers, my teachers, some do 2 days, some do 3, they decide as a grade level if they're gonna do 2 days or 3 days. I figure they can handle that. The only other thing that I ask my teachers to do is to have office hours, where inside of a Google Classroom, they put a link where they will be available. Now, kids can get on, they are not required, because we don't know what type of technology they have.
Right.
I know some kids before have used a cell phone, they pop on, ask the teacher a question, then they can pop off. I have a couple different times set up for the teachers to get on. I'll have some other things for like special education. I like to make sure that my SPED teachers send out a link to those families, just so they know they can get on, you know, and it's a one-to-one link. As the classroom teachers will send out a classroom link, you know, to 20 kids. And that's the only difference, and those are optional. The kids do not have to get on. It's not optional for the teachers, it's optional for the students. But they can get on and ask a question if they need to, even though, like Mr. Schaffner said, it's all review stuff. Sometimes we have questions about review. But yeah, it's basically the same with a little extra, because we start doing Google Classroom in 3rd grade. The day they walk in, they get a Chromebook, they cannot take it home. But they do get a Chromebook, and the teachers start with Google Classroom in the first week, so they know they should be able to get on, and they should not, parents, you're listening, they should not be able to bamboozle you and say, well, I don't know my information, because they've had it since 3rd grade, day one, so. Yeah, and then they have the packet, so, and the packets are set up it's not 8 hours worth of work, you know, they're not gonna, we also wanna make sure that the kids, if it's a snow day, have a chance to go play in the snow. Cause I know that's what I wanna do, you know, go out and sled or throw snowballs at people, stuff like that, so.
So we're organized, the buildings are organized, every level's kind of organized, so if this comes out, we can actually.
I actually had a teacher come in today and ask for, not manila, no, yellow envelopes, cause we're all gonna do the same big yellow envelopes. But they asked me what day we were gonna send them out, when are we sending these out? And then our copy machine broke, so it was difficult, because no one can pick it up, so.
Alright, sounds good, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Alright, the last part of my report, the sick bank committee, there's only work we need to do. Leslie Harlan, Jody Fishwater, Kevin Teague, and Jennifer Eller are gonna be on that committee with me. It says in policy that there should be some regulations that go through the school board and have you guys approve those, that's what we're gonna work on. That are a little more detailed than what's in the policy, so we're gonna discuss things like who would be eligible to join, number of days required to become a member, procedure to request this from the sick bank, how many days an employee may receive from the sick bank, who's gonna consider or approve those requests, what kind of eligibility criteria will be, and how many days, procedure and criteria for maintaining an adequate number in the bank, and procedure for protecting confidentiality of medical information. Those are some areas that we're gonna hit. It's a great benefit for our staff, so they don't get to the point where they get a pay doc with their sick leave when they run out of all their leave. So it is a nice benefit. We just need to put a little more information together and have you guys approve it so we can move forward with our sick bank. I think whatever we come up with the certified group, that'll kind of automatically go over to the classified staff, and they will have those same benefits and same guidelines to follow.
Is there a guideline in there for how many days a retiring teacher can donate to the sick bank?
I don't think any of those things are in writing, like if I leave or if I leave the district, can I donate the days to somebody, can it go to the bank? All those things need to be probably discussed and put in, yep. So we can hit that also.
Yeah, how much you can give back.
And there's sometimes they want to call for days for a certain group or a certain member might get certain requests that people can donate. There's other districts do that also, so those are some of the details we can work out. Yep.
Donations.
Yep. That's my report.
Okay, and item number 2 under this section is board reports. I don't know, are there any board members that have been on committee meetings that would like to talk about anything? I don't know if anything's happened since our last meeting.
Activities committee met, but we're still plugging away at policies. We don't really have anything to bring forward thus far.
And under A, just a I guess a note, each committee, like the activities committee, when the board members meet, if you guys as the board members can, cause you, Sean and Amanda are on activities, is that right? Okay. And then so just amongst yourselves and the committees, appoint a spokesperson. And then I'll make it just a little smoother down the road. The additional items we just wanted to touch base on for, just for information. We did get the superintendent evaluation completed 10/16, which is by policy, it had to be done in October. Do want to thank again the committee of people that put that evaluation tool together. Amanda and Dustin were on it, and Josh, and I think maybe Mr. Weigel, I'm not, if I missed somebody, I apologize. The next is this coming up Wednesday will be at the state school board convention and the delegate voting information. Do you guys as a board have any questions about, we got a sheet from Brian Farmer about what we're voting on. Have you guys read it? If you have any,
I do have to look.
okay. If you have any questions, we'll go over it now. If you don't have any questions, I'll assume that you agree with what was in the report.
You're saying that we can still have input on what is?
Yeah, you can, I'm the voting delegate. We have, due to our school size, we have one delegate to vote. And so if you guys have anything, I think there's 3. I had it up and then I lost it when I find it.
Okay, so this is
There's
from Julie.
yep, there's a,
What date?
I don't know.
That would have been today, 8:05. Yeah.
Okay, so it was the delegate assembly items for consideration. There's one, they don't have names. Oh, increase or decrease the board size. They want the, for local school districts, they wanna make it, Niobrara County actually submitted this idea to make it easier for boards to increase or decrease the size based on what's going on in their community right now. The WSBA recommends that we vote for that policy. Converse County number 2 brought an idea for allowing direct payment to BOCES instead of having to go through the school district and then out to the BOCES. So that information is in that packet. The board of directors has no recommendation on that, only because they want us to talk about it more at that meeting. Increasing the threshold for safety and security expenditures came from Fremont County School District number 2. With right now, the state has our supplies or materials at $25,000 and capital construction projects at $50,000 before.
Some of their legal requirements
Yeah.
kick in.
They wanna bump that up to 75,000 and 150,000. And it's basically, what I found interesting was, their reasoning for this was to keep not having so much information out there for people to know what's going on in the schools for safety reasons. You know, if we upgrade, we have new lots or something like that, and we put it all out in our bid, then everybody knows what we're doing. So they were thinking it would be safer for the students, so that we'll be talking about that one as well. And then there's one about rehiring teachers, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. So, Madam Chair, if I may, for the audience and whatnot, if you're wondering a little bit about what the whole delegate assembly thing is, can I explain this real quick? Okay, so the delegate assembly is just a gathering of all the school boards from around the state, and these initiatives are what the Wyoming School Board Association is going to go lobby at the legislature for during the session. And so the votes kind of give those guys their marching orders, if you will. But the delegate assembly is that time that we get to sit and talk about all of those things. And where Chairman Lay has mentioned, like Fremont County has brought a proposal up, Converse 2 has brought a proposal up. These are some things that the districts have a need for throughout the state. And it's to get the rest of us, whether we think that's a good initiative or not so much. You guys, gonna waste your time if you go to the legislature with that one, or, is it a non-starter, or hey, is this something all the school districts in the state get behind and start pushing on, it gives them a little bit better chance to lobby for those legal changes, especially the $75,000 to $150,000. When the legislature enacted that a couple of years ago, yeah, we had to immediately change our policies here to reflect that. So with the delegate assembly, we kind of get a little bit in front of that 8 ball with some of that kind of stuff. But it is actually until the legislature drops the gavel and it becomes law. But it gives the WSBA the chance to take their advocacy for the districts directly to the legislature. So that's kind of what the whole delegate assembly thing's all about.
Thank you, Mr. Kapka, and I just need any input from you guys I wanna make sure that Plat One's board, that our vote is everybody's opinion on there, so. If you need another copy of that in your email, let me know. But, I think everything will be voted on as they recommend unless you guys have opinions. Okay, and we also wanna let everybody know that all of our work sessions and board meetings they've been recorded for a while, but all of them are being recorded and they will be available for viewing Tuesday, the day after the meeting.
Usually a couple days, I think, right?
Couple days.
Just like 2 days?
2 days after, okay. So I don't think we'll ever have them, or not in the near future will we have them live, but they are all work session and the board meetings. I do, especially for those watching at home, we do wanna see you come down to our work sessions. Our work sessions are the times that we can really engage and work through things and get more ideas and things like that. In the board meetings, we're very limited on how we can interact with people. And so, but they are recorded for those that can't make it. All right, so on to item 3 and the auditor's report.
Jason is here, he'll come up and join us and kind of do a summary for us.
Thanks for having me. My name is Jason Lunge. I'm a partner at Harvard Ford and James, CPAs, and this is our first time doing your audit. Happy to do it. Here in the state, we service 13 other school districts that we audit, and so we see a wide variety of sizes and shapes of schools and the different accounting practices that are had at the different districts. And so I think we provide some valuable insight and molding with Jamie and the rest of them. They were good to work with. We appreciate their help and cooperation. It takes us a lot of hours to get here. I've got a great team of professionals that I work with that help us get to this point right now. And so we're really pleased to present this report to you and kind of go over it. So you have probably the printed versions. They're bound right here. And if you turn back to page number 1, page number 1 is it's entitled Independent Auditor's Report. Okay, and at the top there, there's a paragraph that says opinions. That's what you all have engaged our firm to do, is to come in here, look through these numbers, and form an opinion over these financial statements. And it is our opinion that these financial statements are presented fairly in all material respects in accordance with the accounting rules, generally accepted accounting principles. And so they're fairly stated as a clean report that way. The basis, underneath that you'll see a paragraph that says basis for opinions. The basis for those opinions is the work that we did. The literally hundreds of hours that we put in to going through your cash accounts. We sent confirmation letters out to your banks and said how much money does the district hold, and then we came and compared that against the bank reconciliations and so on. Really good audit evidence there. Other things that we did, I won't go through everything because I don't want to hear it all, but other things we did is we sent out letters to the Wyoming Department of Education and to the county treasurer and so on, saying, hey, how much money have you sent to the district? Okay, and that gives us really good audit evidence as well, because if there's something missing, right, here at the district, that they say, oh, well, we sent them this much, and on the other side, we're like, well, where is it recorded, right? That would give us really good audit evidence of something that's missing. And so we do that, and we perform a variety of other procedures related to expenditures and so on. We also test, because you spend over $750,000 in federal money during the year, you're required to have a special audit that specifically looks at the grants, okay? And those grants that we looked at in the current year specifically was the ESSER gear programs and then the YBuild, the comprehensive literacy grant. And so we went in and we looked at those, and we're gonna talk about that now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn further back into the report. We're gonna go to page 53 of the report. It's gonna be right after the thing that says other auditors report. There's gonna be like a gap there. So the other independent auditors report, and then the next page after that, it's got our letterhead. The title of that is called Independent Auditors Report on Internal Control over Financial Reporting and on Compliance and Other Matters, and it goes on. But it's this report right here is because we perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards. Those standards require that we come in and we gain an understanding of your internal control environment. So the internal control environment and the structure of your internal control activities is kind of like saying, hey, how's a transaction initiated, authorized, processed, recorded? You know, we gain an understanding of how all of that happens. And to the extent that when we look at that, we identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we're required to report that here, okay? And we also use that understanding of the internal control structure when we design the tests that we're gonna perform over your different transaction classes in order to form the opinion on your financial statements. And so here, at this level, we're pleased to report that we don't have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses to report. So we're gonna flip that back a couple of pages further, and again, you'll see our letterhead. It's on page 55, our letterhead, and at the top it says Independent Auditors Report on Compliance for each major program. So again, what we did is, in the federal government, of course, they've prescribed for us exactly how we're supposed to go in and select what the major programs will be for the current year. Obviously we follow that, and it was ESSER gear and YBuild is what we tested. And so when we do this, we go in a little, even more deep, okay, than we do in just the regular financial statement audits. We're looking at compliance requirements within those grants, looking at the grant agreements and so on. With the additional money that the federal government has passed out recently, it's, you know, it's kind of rare that we come across entities that don't have any findings at all. You guys do have one finding to report, and we're gonna talk about that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna flip back a few pages further. We're gonna go, it's not quite the last page, but nearly the last page, page 59. So on page 59 of the report, you see in section 2, the GAGAS financial statement findings, there was none noted there. Then section 3, the federal award findings and question costs, we do have one finding there. And that has to do with, there's a requirement that before you do business with vendors and contractors under federal government, with the federal government, that you're checking to see if they're suspended or barred before you do business with them. You should have written policies and procedures to check this, and also to actually do it before you're making those payments. And so that's what we're kind of pointing out here. And also, when you're doing business with contractors, you need to be making sure that those contractors are complying with the Davis-Bacon Act and making sure that they're paying the prevailing wage that they're supposed to be paying in the area. And so there's specific things for that, and we've worked with management to help teach them. I've got a gal in my office, I've got a Jody, you guys have a Jody, but my Jody, she helped with educating your Jody and so on. with how to implement this and how to be better moving forward and complying with the requirements of our government. So with that being said, that's the essence of what I'm wanting to present to you all. I am gonna walk through the financial statements. I'm gonna do that kind of quickly. I think, my grandfather, he's passed, but he would always say, make sure you're telling people the time and not how to build a watch, because, it's important. And I think I love, like, this report, 69 pages, we could be here a while longer, and yeah, exactly. And so, it's like, but here's the thing, is as you get time to read through this document, if you have questions or concerns, or you just want, me to give a little lecture on accounting or something, call me and I'll be happy to give it. In another life, I'd like to be a professor of accounting, I just,
It's not too late.
It's not too late?
It's not too late.
There's still hope, okay. But with that being said, let's just walk through just a few of the pages here. And so the first page that we're gonna flip to is page 14 of the report. This is the statement of net position. This statement of net position, under the GASB standards, it requires that we fold together both your current and your long-term assets and your current and your long-term liabilities. And so as you look through that, there was some regression in your total assets as compared to the year before. There was a little bit of an increase in some of the liabilities, but not others. The total, like net pension liability, for example, that's a big non-cash item, right? It's pushed down to you from the state because you participate in the Wyoming retirement system and the public employee pension plan. That liability statewide went from 1.5 billion last year up to 2.7 billion this year. That thing yo-yos. If you watched it over the last few years, it yo-yos. And it's actuaries who are even more exciting than me. They get together and they figure out how long people will live and how big that liability is gonna be. And so, and they're using other calculations in there, I'm sure. And so that's the case on page 14. Now we're gonna flip down, let's go down to page 18. On page 18, this statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances is presented on a modified accrual basis, so it does not include all long-term assets and long-term liabilities in this equation. There's reconciliations inside of this report that reconcile from the modified accrual basis to the full accrual basis, and as accountants, it's like there's really nothing more fun than a reconciliation, and you can get in there and you can read it and so on. But this statement right here, it kind of gives you an idea without all of the non-cash, as much non-cash mumbo jumbo of how well the district did during the year. And so you see the general fund column, there was a net change in fund balance of a positive $1.3 million, if you see there towards the bottom of that page, and overall a positive change of $2 million for all the governmental funds, right? And Wyoming's a tricky thing with the funding model and how it works when money's sent back to the state and so on, and there can be a whole other long talk about that if you'd want, but why don't you just call me? So, and we can talk about it as well if you have more interest. But that being said, there's positive results there. I think that when we look at overall what happened within the district, comparing last year to this year, your total revenues, when last year they were at 25 million. Now if you look on that page, it's down to 21.8 million. Okay, so there's a pretty significant decrease in the revenues as compared to the last year, but there was also, it seemed like the budgeting process was good and appropriate because there was a corresponding decrease in expenses as well. And so, and there's positive results even in the face of decrease in revenue. And so, with that being said, I think I've probably talked long enough. Are there any questions? Alright, well, I appreciate your time and the opportunity to serve the district, and again, if there's any questions, Jamie and so on, they can get a hold of us, and I'd be happy to talk with you and go any deeper than you'll.
Thanks for being so punctual.
Thank you.
Yeah, very exciting.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
For sure.
Having a special meeting. Okay, so we're still in information item number 4, the Park and Rec minutes are in there. Informational items, okay. As well as the Platte County Education, or Economic Development minutes, they're in your packet, you can read those at your leisure. We'll get down to, for information, the policy evaluation. We have 2 new policies. And so as a new policy, will you read them twice?
Yeah, so the first step of this being forward for information, and it'll be the first reading. You guys can discuss any changes you want, and then the second and final reading will be next. So this first one's just informational.
Okay.
Yep.
Alright, so I was gonna get it up, do we need to? It's not anymore, has everybody read those? We want us to discuss them tonight?
No, I think you can wait till first reading if you wanna make any
Okay.
changes, it's just more informational for you guys to look at, yep.
Okay, so please, board members make sure that you've read over both of those, and at our next meeting, we will have, discussion on them. Right, action items. We're seeing no old business, so we'll get right to new business. And item number 1 is approve advertising the sale of the old elementary school in Chugwater by owner for a starting price of $100,000 or best offer.
Do we need to make a motion? Is that where we start?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve advertising the sale of the old elementary school in Chugwater by owner.
I'll second that.
Alright, thank you. Alright, any discussion? Yeah.
I think this is a great idea. It's my decision.
Okay, it was, the last time it was appraised
At the 100,000, it was appraised at, but it was pretty difficult to find a building at Chugwater.
for
So it's kind of stretch, right, to maybe Cheyenne or other outside even further than Cheyenne to try to find that, so. And we're not under any contract for this, so if we sell it ourselves, we won't pay that 6% fee.
So we're approving the advertising of the sales, so what's the route that we're going to advertise?
You can share it out on Facebook, or it's like we put it in the paper possibly, I don't think would be reasonable. I think word of mouth goes pretty quickly, it's for sale, I think 2 years ago.
It's a small town, everybody will know by morning.
Yeah,
Put a sign out there, huh?
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, any other discussion? Alright. So the motion is to approve advertising the sale of the old elementary school in Chugwater by owner for a starting price of $100,000 or best offer. All those in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. And the motion passes. Alright. And we have in our packet the school improvement plans under item 2 for each of the following schools, Libby West Middle School, High School, Peak, and Glendale. Do I have a motion to?
I will move to approve the school improvement plans for the following schools.
Thank you.
Libby West, Middle School, West School, East Window.
I will second that.
Alright, thank you, Mrs. Owen. Any discussion? No discussion? All those in favor of approving the school improvement plans for all of the schools, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. Alright. Next, item number 3, we have approved Platte County School District Number 1 Business Manager the authority to process the entitlement payment from the Wyoming Department of Education to Prairie View Charter School within 5 business days of the receipt of these state funds.
Okay, I would move to approve the Platte County School District Number 1 Business Manager the authority to process the entitlement payment from the Wyoming Department of Education to Prairie View Charter School within 5 business days of the receipt of these state funds.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I would second.
Alright, thank you. So basically, this is just, we're required by law to move that money to Prairie View. So this is, and John, you can tell me if I'm wrong, just makes it a little smoother shot. They don't have to wait for board approval for us to give Jamie permission to give them the money every month. So if we have there could be a timing issue if we don't just authorize our business manager to get the money to Prairie View on a regular basis. Comes in, goes out, it's got to by state law, so.
Perfect.
Okay, perfect.
We have other pass-throughs. Do they have something similar to this?
We might have some reimbursements, or we might do some things with some mill levies, but I think this is different. Jamie can explain this maybe.
Are you talking about like the rec or Parks and Rec?
Parks and Rec or something like that.
Well, yeah, Parks and Rec, that'd be a good one. It's a pass-through from the
So
government.
is this any different, I think?
Do we need to do this in other places?
Right, good question.
I mean, that's a decision that the board can make, on whether or not, how they wanna authorize payments that the district receives, or if they would like to wait for board meetings for those payments.
Did I open a can of worms? No.
Is that what we're doing now, Jamie, is waiting for board
Currently,
approval to?
that's
Okay.
what policy, or that's the procedure that I like to take is I do not release any payments until you guys have moved to approve the bills. I hold checks, they're all ready to go, they're sitting in the vault, and then tomorrow morning, if you guys have approved bills, all the checks go out the next day. The problem that the charter school was running into is like an instance like today. Today is an early board meeting. We have not received the school foundation payment yet for the charter school. And so in order for them to receive the payment, they would have to wait until December's board meeting. I don't release anything until you guys have approved all purchases. So, that's kind of.
Okay. Well, that's a good
If that answers your question, I don't know if I'm answering it or if I'm
Oh, yeah,
confusing it.
very clear.
I'm just making sure that.
And Parks and Rec is fine with waiting. As far
Yeah,
as
we haven't had any issues doing business the way we currently do.
Okay, so,
No worries.
alright,
No worries.
Just checking.
good question.
Any further discussion? Alright, so the motion is to approve the business manager the authority to process the entitlement payment from Wyoming Department of Ed to Prairie View Charter School within 5 days of receiving said funds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Alright, item number 4, approve the sale of 3 route buses for a minimum price of $10,000 per bus.
Madam Chair, I would move for the approval of the sale of 3 route buses for a minimum price of $10,000 per bus.
Madam Chair, I will second.
Thank you. Alright, any discussion?
how are we gonna sell them? Or how are we gonna advertise for that? Remind me.
Yeah, I think we actually have some buyers or some people interested currently, so I think this would be sold probably pretty quickly.
So minimum price, so it's like a bid thing like we did for the trailer?
I think it's whoever offers us $10,000 will buy the bus.
But offers
With minimal
us at least
advertising.
$10,000.
Yeah, minimum, yeah. I don't think we're gonna do 50 cents of it. If someone wants to buy it, they would say, I'll pay $10,000.
Word gets out fast, or maybe something happens.
There's nothing under about, or that's not.
Yeah, it's just, that's what they're for
We'll
sale.
watch the YouTube channel.
But putting minimum threw me off, that means there could be a maximum.
Alright,
So, just checking.
alright, well, I'm
Game of
buyers.
Is it first come first serve, or are you gonna do like a bid, like advertising?
Like a
If you're
trailer
going to
we put a time,
advertise,
or
I
a
need
day.
to know a date of it's closing, it's opening, or are you not doing it by bid? Are you just doing first come, first serve?
Just reach out to
First,
us, yeah.
yeah. Cause I think if, especially if there's already people interested, my personal opinion is, why would we wanna spend the money for advertising, cause that's a lot for advertising, isn't it?
I guess my question is then with the, again, back to the trailer thing. We had somebody interested in it, but then why did we have to bid it then, but we don't have to bid this? I'm asking, I'm not,
There's a policy.
Cause we make the rules.
well, I forget what they are at the moment.
There was a policy with the dollar amount.
I think it's a policy,
I thought it
but
was
you guys
over-
have to go to bid, but
It probably does, cause it's over,
Whatever is that.
it's over
Sorry,
a certain
the
threshold.
valuation is over, so it's gonna have to go to bid.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, if we're being technical, I bet you're gonna have to do the same thing with your previous items as well. Well, I mean, look at the policy.
Where it's a transportation asset, maybe,
Oh,
It's
the
different
old
because it's-
there
elementary.
may be a difference there. Whether it's just
A single item to be purchased which is over 25,000 must be bid by an advertisement.
That's a purchase.
surplus.
That's a purchase.
But that's just
I
to
don't
be
know how-
purchased,
yeah,
that's to be
I'm
purchased,
not
yeah,
familiar
you
how
need to go with
surplus
removal of
works through Mr. Ellis'
disposition,
department.
disposition.
Sorry.
There could be, there could
Apologize,
be
this is all good.
policy piece of that, but
We gotta do it right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cause I thought the trailer was like under 5,000 or something. I don't remember when that was.
it was listed as the asset.
It's under a weird policy, it's
Yeah,
not
it is.
removable.
We can table it, come back in December.
Yeah, we've got a motion on the
Because it's
table. Transportation.
That may change it in the.
I don't know, it's gonna be, it's not gonna be like from transportation side, it wouldn't be state transportation, that's local board policy. So whatever, I honestly, I don't have that part memorized, I mean, I guess you could approve pending policy procedure or something, but yeah, I think it's, I don't know.
Or we can table it till, like John said, till next
We
month,
might
and we
need
can
to-
actually
Not a big
get a,
hurry.
yeah.
Okay.
They made it
Or
look
look
like
into
they're
it.
doing pretty good.
Kids.
What was when he
Sounds
listed
like
for
it.
sale at one time, correct? So what was done when it was listed, if you think about the old Chugwater Elementary School?
Right, but I think if you have to open up a bid, if it's worth so much money and have a set time frame, I think you have to give people the adequate, in the same
there was
time frame to
some-
bid on it.
There was
I
something
think,
with that
I think
trailer.
it's a policy that we have in place.
Well, but like John's saying, we had already, the prior board had approved the sale of the Chugwater building, so all we're changing is that we're gonna sell it by owner now instead of.
Yeah, so that's different, I think, than the buses. We can check on the buses, I just table it, and we can check on whatever policy and make sure it's correct.
So we have a motion on the floor, we need to,
Then you go to the table.
Take it off.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to table number 4 until we find out more information.
I will second that.
Alright. Get my notes.
tabled till December.
Then you have to make a motion to bring it off the table. Make a motion to end this on.
Okay. Connie has made a motion to table the approval of the sale of 3 route buses until the December meeting. Any discussion on the tabling of the motion?
Chase seconded.
And Chase seconded it. All those in favor of tabling the approval of the sale of the route buses to the December meeting, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Alright, the ayes have it. Alright, item number 5, approve the bid opening for HVAC projects across the district.
I'd like to make a motion to approve bid opening for the HVAC projects across the district funding out of the ESSER 3.
No second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the HVAC projects? And this is approve the bid, opening the bid process for the HVAC. So do we have, sorry, this is Jen. So do you already have something lined up to be ready to go out, or?
No, that's to happen this Thursday, we're walking through everything, finalizing,
Thank
putting
you.
it all together.
Thank you.
Was the plan to have those bids back by next month
That's the
or
hope.
tentative?
That's what we're shooting for.
Okay.
Well, we're just approving the bid.
Just, not the bid or any work or anything, but just saying. Alright, any other discussion on approving the bid opening? Alright, the motion is to approve the bid opening for HVAC projects across the district funded out of ESSER 3. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. Okay, number 6, we're
6 times 2.
yeah, so this is number 6.
8.
If anybody's reading the approved special education contract that was struck in our first motion. And now we have approved Tiffany Dean's continuation as Wheatland area representative on the recreation board.
I so move.
Alright, thank you.
No second.
Thank you. Alright, so then. The November 2023 rec board meeting, the Platte County Parks and Recreation District Board took action to move and approve Tiffany Dean for consideration to continue her position on the board. Ms. Dean currently occupies a Wheatland area representative position. This is a 5-year term of service. The rec board vote was unanimous in favor of moving Ms. Dean forward for approval by the Platte County School District Number 1 board.
So I got a question. Why are we approving this? I don't have a problem with it.
I think it just has to do, we're a special district that receives the majority of our funding from the pass-through through the school district, specifically for recreation. I don't know all of the rules related to that, but we've always brought appointments to the board back to this board for approval.
So I guess part of the reason why I'm asking why, again, I don't have a problem with it. Everything's fine, I'm just wanting to understand. Because again, we have other pass-throughs through us, but we don't approve anything to do with them. Should we be hearing something, anything?
It's the mill levy, isn't it?
The job represents the district, that's the secretary.
Correct. I'm just getting.
I didn't see any bylaws when I looked to see what it says, sometimes it does say it has to go in front of the school board for approval, I didn't see any bylaws from the recreation on their website when I looked. So it's probably more of a practice than it is an actual bylaw,
By them, you mean?
by them sharing that information with the board.
So our other pastors
It's a
would have to
separate-
adapt that themselves.
It's a board what we're talking about, it's not really a pass-through of funds, we're talking about a board member who represents the rec board that they unanimously approved to move forward to this board, the way I understand it. Every district does a little different, sometimes the school board is a rec board, sometimes there's 3 members of the school that actually act as a rec board, so it kind of depends on where you're at in your county. Like I said, I try to look for the board for their bylaws, and I didn't see any from the current, so it's more of a practice, I guess.
Consideration.
That might be homework.
I do appreciate it, I mean, thank you. I don't mean it as any disrespect. I
Well, I
like
think it, you know, as we found out through a lot of information this summer, the largest portion of the park and rec budget does come from the school district, and so I think it is just keeping the school district up to date on all the financial information as well as the happenings of the board itself, so.
Well, and I don't know, but my assumption is because it's mill levy money.
it's not from us, it's through us.
It's just through us.
Yeah.
It's an accountability measure, I would think might have been the original intent, but I don't know that for sure, I'd have to do history on that, but that would be what differentiates it from other pass-throughs. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if it's coming from the state, that's one thing, but this is a county mill, I believe.
Could be wrong.
And folks out there, maybe we could get more answers, but I'm guessing that's probably why. It's an accountability measure.
I like it, yeah, I think it's great, I just wondered why.
Any other discussion? Okay, the motion is to approve Tiffany Dean's continuation as Wheatland Area Representative on the Platte County Parks and Rec Board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? The ayes have it. Alright, item 7, approve the 2023 financial audit report.
Madam Chair, I would move for the approval of the 2023 financial audit report from Carver, Floric, and James CPAs ending on June 30th, 2023.
I will second.
Alright, thank you. Any question or discussion on the audit report?
The only question I have for Mrs. Wilson is, are you good? Are you happy with it?
I'm good. I loved working with
Beautiful.
Carver, Floric, and James. They've been fantastic. I tried to look back through some of our history and we couldn't find a time where we were this early. So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
yeah, I'm very excited and they've been awesome. Nothing but good report from them.
Super, perfect, good job.
Good, yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just in general, just having all your ducks in a row, I'm sure.
And being able to close and move on.
Yeah, good job.
Good work, yeah.
Yay! Alright, any other discussion on the audit report? Alright, the motion is to approve the 2023 financial audit report from Carver, Floric, and James CPAs ending on June 30th, 2023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. The ayes have it. Alright, item number 8, approve the personnel hiring, resignation, and terminations, which is in your board packet.
Many pages later.
Right.
Just
There we
click
go.
on your.
I got it.
You got it.
I got it, right here.
Is it the last page?
It's page 98 and 98.
Yes.
I'll make a motion motion to approve personal hiring resignation.
Thank you, Mr. Irvin.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Hoffman. All right, in your packet is our list of any new or resignations or terminations. Any discussion or questions on that? All right, so the motion is to approve the personnel hiring, resignation, and terminations. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No? All right. Item 9. Approve the budget amendment. Need a motion so we can discuss, please.
Okay, cause I didn't see anything on it.
It's actually added to your, it should be connected to the agenda.
It's in the packet.
Yeah, it just came a little late, so.
Oh,
You just have to pull it.
Madam Chair, I would so move for the approval of a budget amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Kafka.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Eller. Okay, discuss. Any questions?
Can we discuss a little bit of this one?
It's just a,
So we had several grants that came to an end on September 30th, 2023. So funds had to be allocated before that time frame. We had about $56,000, I think, left in those grants that were gonna be returned to the state. So we were pretty creative and found a way to open up those grants and look backwards and find some expenditures through our general fund that we could actually get reimbursed for. So we did that, so we actually are gonna add money back to our cash reserves for that amount of funding. And Jamie broke it up by specific categories. If you have any questions on that, she can explain that to you. So none of those dollar amounts were actually put in any kind of budget, it was just kind of left on the table.
But we've found a place for everything now.
It'll come back into our budget,
Into our budget.
general or our cash reserves. And we do have some plans to move forward with that.
okay,
That's good.
great, thank you for moving back
It's
to
amazing.
that.
Just
Yeah.
neat.
alright, so any further discussion or questions on the budget amendment? So this is just amending the budget we approved in July to say we're gonna get this money back, basically, and where it's gonna go.
It's actually adding to, cause it wasn't really accounted for, cause you're adding money to those, yeah, the cash reserves actually.
Alright,
It's pretty easy to approve this one.
I hope so.
the motion is to approve the budget amendment per our packet item. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The ayes have it. Alright. Item number 10 is a motion to enter into executive session for personnel.
I would like to approve a motion to enter into executive session.
I guess I'm set.
It is 8:58.
I got Dustin. I know it's right here.
Alright, any questions or discussion? All those in favor of the motion to enter into executive session say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Okay. Alright. Yeah.
Let's go there.
So we are, we'll talk about,
No,
this time. advanced planning, we will have a workshop on December 11th here at 6 p.m. And part of that will be going over our board evaluations that we started a couple weeks ago, and we'll continue on that work. The work session the official one is the 11th, the 14th is a tentative one, depending on the insurance. Bid openings if we need one or not.
We got a,
So when they're open,
we have a middle school band concert and Glendo has an event that night.
On the 14th?
On the
Correct.
14th.
The 14th is a high school band concert here.
Yes.
Okay, so we can
Sorry,
change
mine says
time or
middle school,
something
but it
like
is
that.
middle school and
You wanna
not,
start
So there's
with
a
that?
not possible work session.
well, you have 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
right?
it's 5
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah, it's just a little bit.
Okay, and our next school board meeting will be December 18th, right here in the boardroom. So with that, I
I
will take,
would make a motion to adjourn.
I would like to second.
all right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Time.
And